Hello everybody, welcome to Unveiling the Truth. I'm your host Mark Howitt. Today's episode is for the date of November 16th, 2013. We have a great episode today planned for you guys. I definitely plan on going into some pretty in-depth topics today in regards to the New World Order Alien Agenda, which many of you I'm sure have researched in the past, looked up information for yourself about, but I've definitely tried to organize the information in a way to best explain some of the theories that I've come up with, especially in the last year, thinking about a lot of the things I've learned, going over some of the information. I've definitely come up with some interesting theories in regards to the alien agenda, which I'd like to present for you guys today, just for consideration. I usually don't present theories. I like to try to present hard information, cold hard facts. But today I wanted to experiment a little bit and just go into some of the more controversial and I guess questionable aspects of this New World Order agenda that we are all living under. So first I'd like to let you guys know too that I did another episode of Reading Between the Lies. It was completed yesterday. Since I am Canadian, I live in Canada. One of the top news stories here in Canada is in regards to Mayor Rob Ford of Toronto, who was recently admitted that he did smoke crack cocaine, which will indefinitely prove that the video that is in possession by the Toronto police does in fact contain visual evidence of him doing so, something that he previously lied to about in the media, in interviews and in press reports. So without further ado, I know it has nothing to do with the NWO Alien Agenda, but as you all know, Reading Between the Lies is essentially news clips that I'm inserting into Unveiling the Truth broadcasts, just about top stories to prove that the media is lying or covering up certain facts about some of the headlines that are in the news. So without further ado, I'm going to get that all queued up here and get that going. And again, this is Reading Between the Lies, the Rob Ford Conspiracy.
We living in a new world order, a global takeover. Now let me show ya the reasons why you gotta look over your shoulder. A time when hearts are filled with disorder. We living in a new world order, a global takeover. Better take cover or fight back against the system. The choice is yours, be the resistance.
Just going over some news footage about the Rob Ford case. I'm sure you're all aware of Rob Ford. He's the Toronto mayor who was apparently caught smoking crack on video. At first he denied it, but later he came forth admitting it because the police obtained video footage claiming that it was true.
Hey guys, any clearance there?
Mayor Ford, are the allegations true? Are the allegations true, Mayor Ford?
Hit me in the face.
Are they true, Mr. Ford? Mayor Ford, are the allegations true?
What do you have to say about the allegations, Mr. Mayor?
Anyway, so like I said this morning, these allegations are ridiculous. It's another story. The Toronto Star going after me, and that's all I've got to say for now.
It's not just the Toronto Star, sir, it's also the doctors.
So the video is just made up? The video is just fake?
Mayor, are you saying the video is a fake?
Certainly we all know that videos can be altered, and we certainly know that drug dealers can't be trusted.
As a result of the evidence that was seized on June 13th at the conclusion of Project Traveler, a number of electronic devices, computers, telephones, and hard drives were seized. They were able to identify a number of files that had been deleted and that they were able to recover those files. As a result, I have been advised that we are now in possession of a recovered digital video file. That file contains video images which appear to be those images which were previously reported in the press.
The question we asked you back in May? Can you
You said the video didn't exist.
You asked me a couple of questions, and what were those questions?
Do you smoke crack cocaine?
Exactly. Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine.
Not long after hearing about the video that was going around, I recall hearing about somebody who was murdered. Like one of the people who had the video or were in the video was murdered, and I found that pretty suspicious. And I went to go look for a video of that report or or anything on YouTube, and I couldn't find nothing. There was only one video, which there's a clip for it.
As for Ford, he has denied the existence of the video. He's also denied using crack cocaine. And the saga took another bizarre turn with a new report from a Canadian newspaper that indicates that a man may have been killed because of his possession of the infamous videotape.
And this is from Thursday, June 27. A surprise guilty plea brought a stunningly speedy end to the legal case of Nassar Hashimi in the high-profile death of a man linked to the Mayor Rob Ford video scandal. Hashimi, 23, pleaded guilty to the reduced charge of manslaughter of Anthony Smith, who was one of the gentlemen in the picture that apparently had the video. Smith, Mohammed Katak, and a third man appeared with Ford in the infamous photo outside a West End Toronto bungalow. Hashimi, 23, was originally charged with first-degree murder and attempted murder after Smith, 19, was fatally shot and Katak, 19, wounded near the Loki Lodge on King Street West near Spadina Avenue early March 27th. The unexpected plea means little evidence will be presented in court, defense lawyer John Struthers said he had enough disclosure to resolve the case. Hashimi was sentenced to 9 years in prison, a term jointly recommended by the Crown and Defense. The Crown and Defense, there we go. He was also sentenced to 4 years imprisonment to be served concurrently for aggravated assault. The lesser plea properly and justly reflects the extent of Mr. Hashimi's legal culpability on the evidence in the case, Prosecutor Mary Misner told Ontario Court Justice Paul Taylor. Court heard Smith and Katak were known to police as alleged members of the Dixon City Bloods, a West End Toronto street gang recently targeted by police. Smith was shot in the back of the head and thigh. Katak was struck in the shoulder area. The shooting occurred in the heat of a fight, and in the melee, he acted instinctively in the sudden excitement of the moment and while his capacity was diminished by alcohol and drugs, Mr. said. Struthers said his client demonstrated his remorse by immediately instructing him to seek a plea deal. The facts on the ground were very clear. This was a manslaughter by any legal analysis, he said. It's a plea that involves excessive force and self-defense. Struthers said it was an excellent result for Hashimi, who can apply for parole in 3 years. He acknowledged it was the fastest resolution to a murder case of the more than 70 he has handled. So they just got this guy in and out who murdered one of the guys related to the Rob Ford video. He acknowledges that it was the fastest resolution to a murder case in more than 70 that he's handled, and Hashimi can apply for parole in 3 years. So tell me something's not going on here. I mean, tell me that this guy here killed the person and is just getting away with it. He's having a walk through the legal system. 3 years, he's on parole, the fastest resolution to a murder case. Come on, there's something going on here. Broker details violent pursuit of Rob Ford video, and this is published November 8th. Today's date is the 15th. So not too long ago this was posted, and this has been going on since July, even before that I believe, but I wanted to show you guys this article here. One of the men who tried to sell a video alleged to show Rob Ford smoking crack cocaine says some people in Toronto's Dixon neighborhood received death threats and offers of cash after news of the explosive video became public in May. Mohammed Farah, who attempted for weeks to broker a sale of the Ford video to several media organizations, ended his silence in television interviews aired on Friday on CBC's The Fifth Estate and City News. And this was part of an operation, a sting operation called Project Traveler, which they were attempting to get drugs and weapons, and it seemed like it was in relation to the Dixon neighborhood Bloods, as we'll find out.
Until he came clean this week, that tape of Rob Ford smoking crack was a smoking gun, a hot commodity someone wanted to sell. Tonight, we're introducing you to the man who tried to broker a deal for it with a Toronto newspaper. He told his explosive story to our colleagues at the Fifth Estate about other potential buyers and the nasty lengths they seemed prepared to go to get it.
In January, he says he was approached by a young man he knew, a man we now know from other sources to be Mohammed Siad.
So he showed me one video of me Rob Ford, and when I seen that video, it was pretty shocking. I think I was taken back by it.
He says he agreed to try and sell it for Siad. So far, met with the Toronto Star. He was asking for $100,000. The Star wouldn't pay that, but it reported on the video's existence. And that's when Farah said his neighborhood became a target. He says he heard a lot of stories.
There were some people in the neighborhood, I would say people that are in organized crime, that drove in and showed people a suitcase of money, said, hey, look, whoever has the video, put them in contact with us. This is their cash, this is their money.
They were literally showing people suitcases of money?
Yeah, coming in fancy cars and showing cash.
Then he says he heard about phone calls from people he was told had connections to Mayor Ford.
There was phone calls coming in from people claiming to be ex-military, claiming to be police officers, saying, look, if you guys don't pass the video or find the video, we'll arrest you guys or we'll have you guys executed.
Farah is a community organizer with no criminal record. But in June, he was arrested as part of a massive police sweep dubbed Project Traveler. He says he's talking now because he thinks that since those arrested are being held responsible, the mayor should be too.
He lied to the people of Toronto.
Mr. Farah told the Fifth Estate he has never personally seen the mayor do drugs, but noted Mr. Ford was regularly spotted in the Dixon neighborhood and at a nearby bungalow that police described as a drug house in the documents, which apparently is this neighborhood here. And the person who was shot was Anthony Smith, was his name. And here's another article that I wanted to point out. Rob Ford video, Mohammed Khattak, man pictured with Toronto mayor, seeks video release. As news of the mayor's confession and refusal to step aside made headlines around the world, some city councillors expressed skepticism at Ford's claim that he has nothing left to hide. Denzil Manam Wong, who plans to table a non-binding motion asking Ford to take a temporary leave of absence, says he's concerned about the possibility City Hall hasn't seen the end of revelations about the mayor because they won't release the video footage and some of the details discussed, etc., etc. I don't know what it is, but there's more information that will likely come out, he said. I'm troubled by that it will create further controversy and hurt this city even further. So keep in mind there that he's saying, I don't know what it is, but there's more information. So this guy knows what the information is, he's just not talking about it. Then we have underneath Karen Stintz, who has said she will run for mayor next year, predicted more information could be revealed, but said she hoped for the city's sake that this was the end of it. What I do know is there is more information that could be revealed, she told a large crowd of reporters gathered outside Ford's office. I don't know what that information is. Again, we'll find out more as the days unfold, and I certainly hope for the city's sake that we've seen the end of this. Pretty much spewing this exact same thing that Denzil Manam Wong is stating, that they know that there's more incriminating evidence that's going to come out, but they hope that it doesn't. It also discusses Project Traveler documents. That documents were released, that the media has been probing to get some documents. This article here has some things. Mohammed Khattak's lawyer, Daniel Brown, argues the video files are revealing disclosure and may assist Khattak in defending himself on the charges he faces, because he faces charges from the Project Traveler operation. And there is likely organized crime involvement here, trying to get the video, and these are reports from a week ago. It's obvious what's going on here. Massive cover-up, massive scandal in the court system, legal system, all that stuff. I mean, if this were to happen to anybody else in the public, they'd be gone from their job. I mean, I know for a fact that you work any job, a restaurant job, a variety store, a factory, anything. You're smoking crack at work, you're gone. You'd be fired instantly. When you can control a massive amount of people like that using violence, threats, fear, all sorts of stuff, that's organized crime, criminal activity in my opinion.
Criminal. Now, of course, don't think this guy's just all pratfalls in classic physical comedy. He's also been photographed with his arm around a neo-Nazi and explained why stores should be open on statutory holidays thusly.
What some are calling a backhanded compliment to Toronto's Asian community.
Those Oriental people work like dogs. They work their hearts out. They are workers non-stop. They sleep beside their machines. The Oriental people, they're slowly taking over.
Another chapter in the evolving Rob Ford story emerged today when this video was released online.
No holds barred, mother. He dies right.
Moments after its release, Ford offered another embarrassing apology, this one again made against the advice of his most senior staff.
It is extremely embarrassing. And I don't know what to say. I'm again, I apologize.
A source tells CBC the video was shot in February or March. The context is not known.
I don't know the context. I really don't. It's obviously a private moment. He's obviously very disturbed.
Because I'm going to kill the fucking guy. I'm telling you to surgery my back. But I'll talk about myself. You didn't fall.
So what you have happening is the media is totally covering up for this. You're hearing the media cry about the video and how Mayor Ford smoked crack, but you're not hearing anything about the murder of Anthony Smith and the cover-up behind all that stuff.
I made mistakes in the past, and all I can do is apologize, but it is what it is, and I can't change the past. 3:13.
Okay, are you gonna come back to say a few words?
Holy Christ!
What happened?
Oh, I got this effect. Just hit me in the face with a camera.
Happy birthday, Rob Ford. Please resign, Rob Ford.
Why should the mayor resign?
Because he's humiliating us.
We living in a new world order, a global takeover. Now let me show ya the reasons why you gotta look over your shoulder. A time when hearts are filled with disorder. We living in a new world order, a global takeover. Better take cover or fight back against the system. The choice is yours, be the resistance.
Off my property, please. Don't get off my property. Take it off my property.
I'm leaving.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Get off my property. Thank you.
We're off your property.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about your industrial.
But don't you understand? Get off the property, partner.
Well, there we have it, folks. A lot of people are watching Rob Ford all over the news right now, and all they know about is a videotape apparently showing him smoking crack cocaine. Well, that's what the media wants you to be focusing about. They want you to be, concerned about the crack cocaine use or the video or him lying to the media, but they totally want to cover up the murder that you clearly, I think there's enough evidence in that 15-minute video there pretty much showing that he's connected to the murder of Anthony Smith, as well as likely other people who were involved with the whole scandal, the whole videotape, and they're trying to cover up Rob Ford's involvement with organized crime. Very, very, pretty much right in your face there with all the clips that are shown in that video. For anybody who didn't watch the whole thing or just getting into the chat room, you could watch the whole clip on YouTube. It's on the Unveiling the Truth YouTube channel, as well as the Mark Howitt YouTube channel. And that's called the Rob Ford Conspiracy, just showing you that the media is covering up what looks to be like a murder. So that's very important to point out before we get into the broadcast, that the media likes to cover up things, and they are used as a propaganda tool to shape public opinion or to focus the public over here while they're acting over here. Very much a distraction, in my opinion. But to get to the topic of this broadcast, the New World Order Alien Agenda, there's so much information. I was gathering tons of info for this broadcast because I wanted to pack it with as much information as I possibly could in one 2-hour episode. And 2 hours is enough time to get as much of this covered as I possibly can, as long as I don't focus and over explain things. So there's going to be a lot of information that I'm going to be bringing up, which does require further research. Some of the names or the topics I'll be mentioning in this broadcast you may have heard about before, which is good. I'm assuming that a lot of you already know about certain things such as Roswell and Area 51 and all that stuff. So that's one thing I'm getting into. But before I get too into the broadcast, I want to let everybody know my personal standpoint on aliens and life from another planet or anything like that. I absolutely believe that there has to be other life forms out there besides us and besides what is on planet Earth. There absolutely must be. There's no reason to believe that there couldn't be or there shouldn't be or there wouldn't be because there's enough evidence here on Earth supporting that, yes, there is things from other places besides this planet that we live on. One example of this is the resources that are found on Earth come from outer space. They landed here, they crashed into Earth, meteor deposits, mineral deposits, etc., etc. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. I do believe that there is, spacecraft and stuff like that, but I'll get into that further. But I do want to mention my own personal UFO experience. I did actually see a craft, an unidentified flying object, I guess you could say. I was touring with my band, Wolven Ancestry, and this was in 2009. And we're in Eastern Canada, and I was in Quebec City. We're standing outside the venue. I think we were having a bite to eat or something before we went inside to bring in our equipment and start setting up for the show. and all of a sudden I looked up and I seen a disc, a giant disc, just hovering above the hydro lines, perfectly parallel, right along the hydro lines. It wasn't making a sound, no sound whatsoever. There was no lights on it because it was in the daytime. It was just starting to get dark, but it wasn't dark out. You could still see everything very clearly. And when I noticed the craft above me, like, I didn't hear it or anything. I just happened to turn around and looked up, and I seen this thing moving, and I was like, wow, that's insane. That's moving like totally parallel to those hydro lines, like, in a perfectly straight line, and it couldn't have been 10-15 feet above the hydro line, so it was hovering very close to the hydro lines. And I told the guitarist in the band, I'm like, hey, get the camera out. There's a flying saucer up there. And he was like, whoa. And they all looked and they seen it. But by that time, it was a bit of a distance away. It wasn't going super fast. It was going at a medium pace. It wasn't going like really slow, but it wasn't going super fast either. And it didn't dart off in any direction. It was just going at the same speed, making no noise, hovering above the hydro lines. And we managed to get a clip of that on video. I wasn't able to get it here, but the video, I did review it later after we got home from the tour, and you could just see a little black dot flying off. So the video isn't the greatest because by the time he pulled the camera out and got it, it was kind of in the distance. But I definitely seen that thing up close, and it was definitely not a conventional aircraft. It wasn't an airliner. It wasn't. It didn't have wings. It was a disc, perfectly round disc with a top on it, and it actually looked very much like. I'll show you the craft later on in the episode, like the crafts they were working with in Canada, which kind of makes sense to the area that I saw it and the shape of the craft and what it looked like. And the best resemblance I could say is it looked like the craft that they were trying to develop, the zero gravity craft in Canada here. Which I'll get to later on in the episode. So I have had a UFO experience. Whether I believe in aliens or not, we'll get into that. But I do believe that there definitely is spacecraft or aircraft out there that are definitely beyond our technology. Now, another thing I think is very important to point out early in the broadcast here is, if you've noticed, the secret technology is usually withheld about 100 years. So you won't see the technology until 100 years after it's been actually discovered and tested and developed by the military or intelligence services. Perfect example of this is wireless technology. Wireless technology, Nikola Tesla discovered that in the early 1900s. And growing up in the 80s and the 90s as a teenager, I never seen cell phones. There was no such thing as a cell phone, not available to the public anyways. However, we do know that the CIA was using that quite extensively for a few decades prior to that time period, as well as the Tesla having confirmed the wireless connection in the early 1900s. So that's almost 100 years there of the cell phone wireless technology being withheld from the public. So who's to say that the space technologies, the space weapons technologies or anything like that isn't also 100 years advanced technology? So you have to keep that in mind. And before I go any further here, I also wanted to show you guys a great movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick. This kind of explains a lot of things, and for its time, this movie was actually showing a lot of technologies that we have now. They weren't existent back then, or if they were definitely hush-hush and kept only to those who had access to that technology. So there's a lot of technology in this film, which, if anybody hasn't seen it, check it out. There's also a lot of programming in this video. This movie here was made for those who are aware of certain aspects of the film. When you watch it in a certain way, it totally explains a lot of things. A very great broadcast by William Cooper is called The Dawn of Man. If anybody hasn't listened to that broadcast, it's infamous. He goes and he breaks down 2001: A Space Odyssey and the Freemason agenda in behind it. So definitely check that out, the William Cooper broadcast, if you haven't checked it out. There's a wealth of information in there, and it totally breaks down that movie right to a T. But as I was saying, there absolutely has to be life outside of Earth. Whether it's intelligent or not, I absolutely think so. I think there's got to be. We can't be the only ones out here. And this also ties in with a theory that I have. which I'll explain a little bit later. I'll show you guys a clip about this theory, and then I will try to explain it further and try to show you guys evidence to support these claims and the theory that I've thought out in my mind. And this theory was thought out while I was on the March of Freedom. I mean, I had a lot of information before that, but on the March of Freedom, I had a lot of time to go over things and think about a lot of things and connect some dots, so to speak. So I was trying to connect some dots and make sense of a lot of things. And what really got me looking into the alternative agenda, I guess you could say, was obviously William Cooper, a big influence of mine, but also Freemasons that I know and that I speak to that don't that kind of hint at things, you know what I mean? And they kind of get me looking into certain information. Like I know a couple friends who are obviously Freemasons. They haven't went outright and told me because they feel that I'm a threat to them here locally. You know what I mean? I would never be able to join the Freemason Lodge here in Sudbury where I live because of how much I've spoken out against the organization and exposed their secrets and their agendas. So they definitely wouldn't allow me into the lodge. However, I do know members or people that are associated, and they've talked to me, and the signs and the things they say, like the traveler to the east, etc. There's all these things that you just pick up on. You know they're amazing. They're trying to like subliminally tell you, etc. But anyways, I have a friend of mine whose family goes back through Masonry here locally, and he's showing me a lot of things, especially with sacred sites, ley lines, and the pyramids, you know, Yucatan, Easter Island, all these sacred sites on Earth. And he was, you know, he was not telling me everything. He was seeing what I knew about it, kind of probing me for what I knew, and then, you know, going from there. So he didn't want to fully tell me what was going on, but I had a lot of time to think about what he told me, as well as a lot of information, researching on my own. And it's very interesting. A lot of people believe that the ancient pyramids and the sacred sites that are all lined up perfectly around the grid of the earth and stuff like that, they had to have been built by aliens or some sort of other superior life form to humans with unbelievable technology and stuff like that. And of course, that's what they want you to believe. Another thing that's always brought up is the reptilian race, aliens, etc., etc., and of course the Anunnaki. Now the Anunnaki are supposedly sent here from, or came here from another planet. If you look at old the earliest religions like Sumerian religion and Babylonian influence and stuff like that, you'll see a lot of discussion about the Anunnaki, as well as coming those who from heaven to earth came, etc. And I believe that's all part of the agenda as well, which I'll explain further definitely in a moment. But I want to show you guys another book here. The Lost Book of Enki, Zechariah Sitchin, who's an author who definitely has wrote about the Anunnaki, as well as Enki, the Lost Books, which they've found. And due to the symbolism and there's not too many images in here to show you guys of what they found inscribed on the walls and of the ziggurats and stuff like that. But often you'll see like crafts coming with figures coming off the crafts onto Earth, which is what they're trying to explain. And there's a TV show out there that's been totally run through the mill. It was all over the TV not too long ago, especially in the last couple of years, and that was Ancient Aliens. Now that show, Ancient Aliens, if you're watching it and you understand a lot of the symbolism and you understand a lot of things, it'll make a lot of sense to you. And they do try to play it off that there had to have been something else that came down here, aliens. It had to have been aliens. You know, that's their bottom line. They want to promote the ancient astronauts theory, just like Zechariah Sitchin and Van Daniken and all that stuff, saying that the extraterrestrials came down here, and that's how we became ruled essentially by bloodlines, etc., through history. So there is a lot of inscriptions on the walls that these people have discovered and stuff like that, and they're trying to say that is because the aliens came down here and stuff like that. And now Freemasons, a lot of them believe that these they subscribe to a lot of this stuff, especially Sumerian beliefs and stuff like that. You'll see it tied in Egyptian beliefs as well. Egyptian comes after Sumeria, by the way, which was totally influenced by Sumerian and Babylonian culture and stuff like that. But there's so much to this. It's hard to explain exactly what I'm trying to say here. I think I'm going to show you guys the clip though, because I did an interview while I was on the March of Freedom with Metal Master Kingdom, which usually interview metal bands, and I am a metal musician. I've toured in bands and such, so they had me on the show, and they did an interview on the March of Freedom, just asked me what I was up to and why I was doing that, and it was the first time I ever publicly spoke about a theory that I had. But I want to show you guys this clip. I'll get it on here and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about, because I think before we go any further, that aspect does need to be explained a bit, so I can continue to explain to you guys what I'm trying to say. And I'm just going to get the clip up here. Here we go. Never said this before anywhere publicly in any of my films or anything like this, but this is a theory actually walking down the highway that I came up with not too long ago. And I think it makes sense actually, with the religion thing, you know what I mean? Religion, people put their faith in God, and then therefore they feel like they're insuperior and they can't do anything. It's God that makes all their decisions, right? So that kind of limits people's power. Now think about this, the aliens. That's another thing. People could say it's aliens, that there's aliens out there and all this stuff. Now think about this very, very, very deeply and consider this. The alien agenda came out in the essentially 40s, Roswell, New Mexico. They found a plane, a UFO, the saucer that crashed, which was essentially military technology. They built that because they had that kind of technology back then. The Nazis were doing it. They were developing real technology and all that stuff. So they had the technology to build these spacecraft, and then they crashed it. Now, if you think about this, we're the aliens. This is my theory. We are the aliens. Because right now, in our current state of life, we're trying to get outside of this planet. We're trying to go discover other places, right? Now, who's to say that didn't happen a long time ago, and that's how we got here?
In the first place.
In the first place.
Right.
So what better way to trick the whole human race than to tell them that there's something else out there that's not us, but it's something else, and then put out a big propaganda campaign to make it seem like there's something else out there that is not us. And the CIA and the military were the ones putting out all this information, and those agencies are the ones that are essentially responsible for a lot of the deception and the lies. You have the CIA and the FBI filtering the news through Project Mockingbird and Bluebird and all those programs where they have infiltrated the media so that they can be sure that what they're putting out is propaganda, and it makes us think a certain way or believe a certain thing, right? And I don't think it's too hard to believe that we came here a long time ago, and that's why we're seeing on the Sumerian tablets and on Egyptian pyramids something coming from another place down to here. They were explaining to us how we got here. You know what I mean? How we got to this place. And
the Aztecs.
Then the CIA and the military decided, okay, let's trick the human race and tell them that it wasn't human beings. It was some little gray men. They look exactly like us, and they have black eyes. The eye is always used as well in that. So that's another kind of indicator that there's something secretive about this. But that's another way, just like with religion, to separate ourselves and think we're insuperior. And that's why you're seeing now that the government is releasing information about extraterrestrials and UFOs, and really there's no shred of evidence of it. You know what I mean? I've never seen an alien, you've never seen an alien, nobody in this world has ever seen an alien. Yet we're all supposed to believe that an alien came down here. Like, I don't think it's hard to believe that human beings are on another planet right now somewhere.
Interesting concept.
And yeah, I've never explained that to anybody before. I've kept that in and just thought about it and developed it. And that's a theory that I came up with. I can't prove it, obviously, but it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. It's really logical to me, I would think.
I've spoken to some people who think that since the Roswell days, the technology of mankind has increased 100-fold since that time period. Mm-hmm. Would that be because there were secrets to be found if they truly were aliens that crashed?
why is it that all of a sudden we're propelling ourselves technologically?
It's not just spacecraft or anything like that. We're advancing everything, everything, and that's evolution. Human evolution is what's happening.
Are we tapping into something that we didn't tap into before?
We're just getting smarter when we teach each other things and we talk to each other. That's when we're really going to learn and evolve, and that's what's happening with the internet right now, because we are connected all over the world. Ideas transfer way faster, and then they get developed faster. So what happened in the 40s with Roswell and all that stuff is they already had these spacecrafts, and they were just developing new forms of spacecraft and new technologies, anti-gravity devices and all that stuff. And the Masons actually are the ones who are really putting this out there, like Ancient Aliens and all that show. That's all knowledge that Masons learn about, and they don't tell anybody. The Bermuda Triangle, ley lines, all that kind of stuff is what essentially Masons are learning about. Sacred geometry, the way nature works, all that stuff. So when I was really thinking about this, I'm like, they have an agenda, and what is their agenda? And it just really, it really clicked to me one day that the alien thing could be a way to get us to believe that it wasn't us who came here a long time ago. It was something else. And I've never seen an alien. I mean, if somebody could show me an alien out there, please do, because then I would believe you. But if nobody can provide that evidence, then I need evidence to believe what I believe in. You know what I mean?
See it.
I need to see it. I need to know that it's tangible.
Right.
And I don't know. I think a lot of people have been tricked in many ways, not just the alien thing or anything like that. But that's just one thing out of many. So there it is. I believe that we came here a very long time ago from another planet, just like right now we are trying to go to other planets, and we have space stations already built in space right now. They've been built there for quite some time, and they are highly top secret. Why? Because they don't want the public to know. They're withholding the technology, that they do have jobs and employed people up in space right now that are working, and they have docking stations, gas stations, they have weapons up in space, they have satellites, they have all sorts of stuff up in space. Just take a look. If you have a telescope, look up in the sky. You would be amazed at how much equipment is up there. And it's a lot of people say they see crafts all the time in space, etc. They see lights in the sky, and these are obviously a lot of the time man-made materials, man-made objects. Now there is obviously people that are going to say, well, what about 90-degree turns, etc., etc. Well, there could be way advanced technology now that we're seeing, which is highly suppressed military technology. Now, it's interesting to point out, a lot of people who are researching about UFOs and stuff always cite William Cooper. They always say that William Cooper got them into looking at aliens and UFOs and the military intelligence, etc., etc. However, if you look at William Cooper's life, he actually later recanted his story about aliens and said that the reason why he saw documents at Sinpak Fleet when he was serving in the Naval Intelligence Division was because they were purposely giving him that information so that he would discuss the materials and create the information out of thin air, essentially, that people would start looking and believing in certain facts that he was putting out. So he believes that he was manipulated by the military industrial complex, essentially, into exposing these secrets that he thought were secrets, but they're probably purposely passed to him. So he later started recanting his stories and really digging a bit deeper into what he was saying about the government and the military and stuff like that. And that's when I feel that he was really onto some really breakthrough information. And I wanted to show you guys a website here. I'm going to try to get it online. I saved the website, so I'm going to see if I can get it up here without it causing too many problems with the video feed. All right, here we go. And I'm going to get this on screen here for you guys to check out. Now this is this explains a lot of what I'm talking about here. Now this is from the website educateyourself.org. Project Bluebeam. Now Project Bluebeam is definitely where you need to be looking if you want to find out about the alien agenda, the New World Order alien agenda, etc. Project Bluebeam definitely explains a lot about about the theories. This is kind of I discovered a lot of the information on Bluebeam after I started theorizing about how we got here and stuff like that. So I wanted to show you guys this website because here's a Canadian independent researcher, Serge Monast. And note, Serge Monast, he died in '96, and another journalist, both of whom were researching Project Bluebeam, died of heart attacks within weeks of each other, although neither had a history of heart disease. Serge was in Canada, the other Canadian journalist was visiting in Ireland. Prior to his death, the Canadian government abducted Serge's daughter in an attempt to dissuade him from pursuing his research into Project Bluebeam. His daughter was never returned. Pseudo-heart attacks are one of the alleged methods of death induced by Project Bluebeam. So that's the ray technology. We're seeing that now. Everyone knows it exists, that they can totally project beams, invisible beams, to do certain things, to either burn or kill, constrict the veins in the heart. They also have the sound technology at protests they're using. So they have invisible beam technology, wave technology that they're using against the human race on a pretty constant basis, in my opinion, based upon my research. But Project Bluebeam, here's some information about it. The infamous NASA Project Bluebeam has 4 different steps in order to implement the New Age religion with the Antichrist at its head. We must remember that the New Age religion is is the very foundation for the New World Order or the New World Government, without which religion the dictatorship of the New World Order is completely impossible. I'll repeat that. Without a universal belief in the New Age religion, the success of the New World Order will be impossible. That is why the Bluebeam project is so important to them, but has been so well hidden until now. Engineered earthquakes and hoax discoveries. Hoax discoveries is a key word there, because you're seeing all these all the ancient sites and stuff like that, and they're saying that they had to have been built by extraterrestrials and all this stuff. So, and who's saying that? It's the military, it's the museums, it's the government, it's the royal institutes, it's all the people that are in control that are feeding us all this information. I mean, any of the reports you're going to read about UFOs or aliens that are declassified come from the military or some sort of government-funded agency, which all have an agenda. So keep that in mind. The first step in the NASA Bluebeam project concerns the breakdown, reevaluation of all archaeological knowledge. It deals with the setup with artificially created earthquakes at certain precise locations on the planet of supposedly new discoveries, which will finally explain to all people the error of all fundamental religious doctrines. The falsification of this information will be used to make all nations believe that their religious doctrines have been misunderstood for centuries and misinterpreted. Psychological preparations for that first setup have already been implemented with the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, the Star Trek series, and Independence Day, all of which deal with invasions from space and the coming together of all nations to repel the invaders. The last films, Jurassic Park, deals with the theories of evolution and claim God's words are lies, which obviously, the Masonic religion, they're Luciferians, they're wanting more light. Light is the Lucifer, knowledge, that's why they're after knowledge. And on the 30th degree, when you're a Mason, you discover that religion, that they're not good or anything like that. That's when they reveal to you that they are worshipping Lucifer or Baal worship. Hoax discoveries. So these are about the discoveries that they're going to hoax, that they're going to say. The big space show in the sky, this has to do with holograms and images that they're going to be putting to make people believe, which can be projected through television screens all over. But the second step in the NASA Bluebeam project involves a gigantic space show with 3-dimensional optical holograms and sounds, laser projection of multiple holographic images to different parts of the world, each receiving a different image according to predominating regional, national religious faith. So obviously they're going to try to convert people who believe in God or that are religious. And I don't think there's anything wrong with religion. There's a lot of people that are blindly religious. They have no clue what God is, or they have no clue about spirituality. They just sign up because they think it's the good thing to do. But there's a lot of people that are religious out there that are spiritual, I'd rather say. Not religious, but they're spiritual. And they do understand that there is something there that they just can't explain. And then there's all sorts of different religions that are split up, categorized, etc. Which are, a lot of them are influenced from earlier religions and stuff like that. So there's 2 steps here, which they would be tricking people. And I believe one of them was meteorites, and another was like religious figures and stuff like that. These will be projected from satellites onto the sodium layer about 60 miles above the Earth. We see tests every once in a while, but they're called UFOs and flying saucer sightings. So those are man-made. I'm going to get to the third step. Artificial thoughts and communication. The advancement of techniques propel us toward the third step in the Bluebeam project that goes along with the telepathic and electronically augmented two-way communication where ELF, VLF, and LF waves will reach each person from within his or her own mind, convincing each of them that their own God is speaking to them from the very depths of their own soul. Such rays from satellites are fed from the memories of computers that have stored massive data about every human on Earth and their languages. So they can project information towards into your mind from these beams, which they were obviously testing that technology here in Sudbury. Dr. Michael Persinger, who is a university professor here in Sudbury, where I live, he created something called the God Helmet. And I'm sure a lot of you might have seen that, where people's minds can control certain objects on the screen, and there's a definite connection there from their mind. So they've been testing that. Even in my town here, they've been testing these electronic wave devices and invisible weapons technology, essentially, is what I like to call it. But getting back to this here, their findings, of course, stated that the United States has already developed communications equipment which can make the blind see, the deaf hear, and the lame walk. It can relieve the terminally ill from pain without the use of drugs or surgery. I'm not talking about science fiction. A man might retain the use of all his faculties right up to the moment of his death. This communications equipment depends upon a completely new way of looking at the human brain and neuromuscular systems and radiation pulses at ultra-low frequencies. Some of this equipment is now operational within the CIA and the FBI, obviously, as well as other governments around the world have that technology. And there's a good question. Could this be the greatest mind control ever? Well, I believe that is the goal. And I'm looking here for the fourth. Phasing out cash and independence. The techniques used in the fourth step is exactly the same used in the past in the USSR to force the people to accept communism. The same technique will be used by the United Nations, the one world government, which is already controlling the world right now, or attempting to gain control of all countries under its round table, to implement the New World Religion and the New World Order. A lot of people ask when this is going to happen and how they will accomplish the visions of the night of 1,000 stars and the events that will point to the days when it will begin. According to many reports we have received, we believe that it will begin with some kind of worldwide economic disaster. Not a complete crash, but enough to allow them to introduce some kind of in-between currency before they introduce their electronic cash to replace all paper or plastic money. They're already in Canada here phasing out the penny. Money is slowly becoming abolished, and they are trying to track us all with electronic stuff. So that's why you have a chip in your bank card and all that stuff. They couldn't chip you under the skin, so they now have chipped you on your bank card and your cell phones. So they are tracking everybody, keeping information, keeping tabs on everybody that subscribes to those technologies, which are, many people say that they're needed, bank cards and cell phones. But anyways, see that they're talking about the chips here, that they're doing that. Why would they do that? So it's pretty self-explanatory there. But this was written by Serge Monast himself before he was killed. And this article here is very in-depth. For anybody who wants to learn more, check it out. Project Bluebeam does have other aspects to it as well, which I kind of skipped over because I didn't want to spend too much time on this particular webpage. However, there's a lot of information to be found here in regards to Project Bluebeam. And I also want to tell you guys about, or I also want to show you guys another clip, sorry. I'm just going to load it up here. And that clip is a clip which shows, as I was explaining before, actually, I want to explain something here. I'm just going to get myself on camera. Here we go. So I do want to explain something here about all this technology. The military is keeping it from us, etc., etc. Now, what goes along with Project Bluebeam also ties in with Project Paperclip, because as we all know, Project Paperclip, the American government brought over Nazi scientists over to America, and then that's when we had the boom with the rockets program because of Wernher von Braun, who was working with the U.S. government to essentially accelerate the United States technology above all other countries, so that they would be the leading dominating force in regards to technology, which is pretty much what happened. And around the same time, shortly after that, you have the Cold War, the space race between Russia and the United States, which was mentioned in that previous article that we were looking at. But here's an interesting clip from somebody who worked with Wernher von Braun and had some secrets to tell, which totally goes along with Project Bluebeam, with the agenda and William Cooper explains it better as well, but where they want to stage an alien invasion to get everybody to believe that there are aliens out there, which is the genius of the whole plan, I think, is when you make people believe that we didn't come here from another planet, that there's no way we could have had the technology to come here a long time ago, and maybe one craft landed and it's a whole new Earth, a whole new planet that we discovered, which obviously they wanted to mine and resource. They had all the information beforehand, but they kept the information only to those who came here first, essentially, and who are essentially governing the planet, ruling the planet, controlling the planet, which we have now. Why is our planet being controlled by royalty and elite bloodlines who apparently don't have the Rho negative factor in their bloodline? If you look at the bloodlines, you'll see a 15% of the population don't have the Rh rhesus monkey gene in their blood. They are actually Rho negative, which you have the band type O negative, which kind of plays on that as well. There's all sorts of secret hidden knowledge that's been kept, and it seems like if you want to find that information, you got to read some Freemason books. You got to read some of these old books written by all these people that know about what's going on and secretly tell you. They don't tell you outright, or if they do, it's very hard to get, very hard to obtain. You have to rise up to a certain degree to learn this information. So without further ado, here's an interview with Carol Rosen, who worked with Wernher von Braun, and he explained to her essentially what they were trying to do, and it definitely seems to go along with Project Bluebeam. There's a picture of JFK with Wernher von Braun, because that was during the Cold War. They were working together.
When I was a corporate manager of Fairchild Industries in 1974 through 77, I met the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in early 74. At that time, von Braun was dying of cancer, but he assured me that he would live a few more years in order to tell me about the game that was being played, that game being the effort to weaponize space, to control the Earth from space and space itself. The strategy that Wernher von Braun taught me was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in 74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over, during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. He didn't mention a timeline, but he said that it was going to be speeding up faster than anybody could possibly imagine. That the effort to put weapons in space was not only based on a lie, but would accelerate past the point of people even understanding it until it was already up there and too late.
So as you could see, the last card of the Illuminati game, the Alien Invasion card. And she was explaining how Werner von Braun explained to her what they were trying to do to weaponize space, the methods that they would go to, the false flags essentially that they would be able to do to weaponize space. Space has been weaponized for quite some time now, and I watched a Jesse Ventura conspiracy theory episode one time, which was in season 3, I believe, about the space program, and it's unbelievable what they have up there. The technology, they're so far advanced out of what anybody knows and understands. It's just unreal. And for people to say that this technology is alien or it's got to come from some other planet or something like that, it's hard to prove. Just like the alien thing. I mean, if nobody's seen an alien, we can't exactly prove that there's aliens because there's no physical evidence to prove it. We're here though, human beings are here, and it would make sense that perhaps if we can go up into space now, who's to say that we couldn't have done it in another time? It's just a theory I've had. I mean, I could be very wrong about that, but in my eyes, that makes a lot of sense. I definitely think that makes a lot of sense. And I want to show you guys an interesting historical video, I guess you could say. It's historical in some way or another. But this is an interview with Jesse Ventura and David Icke. Because David Icke, as you all know, he's essentially the father of the reptilian belief, that everybody believes that anybody who believes that there's reptilians out there, or that the people that are ruling the world are reptilian, blooded, shape-shifting human beings. Essentially, you've had to have discovered some of David Icke's work. Now, David Icke is really good when it comes to government, politics, the monarchy, religion, and all sorts of things like that. I think he's really bang on about all that stuff, and I think he definitely exposes a lot of great information. He's done a lot of great seminars, and he's done a lot of great work exposing a lot of the corruption that's going on. However, I do not subscribe to the reptilian theory that he has. He's never provided evidence, and this is an interview with Jesse Ventura and David Icke, and I'm sure some of you have seen it, but I thought it would be important to show. This is what happens when you confront someone to show you evidence of aliens and stuff like that. As we saw in that interview with Jesse Ventura and David Icke, there was a disagreement there. There wasn't any proof or evidence shown of an alien or reptilian, anything like that. Jesse Ventura did kind of ambush him in that interview, I find. They could have discussed it a bit more, I guess you could say professionally in a way. I just felt like David Icke has done a lot of work to expose a lot of truth and stuff like that, and we should be working together and stuff like that. So it was kind of a confrontational interview there. It seems like we did get disconnected, but I hope I'm back now. It seems like it's all working again, which is good. But going on from there, I wanted to say that in the last century, there's definitely been a lot of information about UFOs coming out, and a lot of it's been suppressed by the military or the CIA or these government groups that are hiding this technology and kind of putting a little bit of information out there a little bit at a time just to keep the people guessing about what's going on and stuff like that. And in my opinion, that's all part of the agenda. They want us to be going after that information, to believe that they're hiding something, and they want to shape the opinion about what it is that we think they're hiding. So that's part of the agenda for sure. And if you guys didn't notice, ever since 2012, the last 2 years, I would definitely say, especially with Ancient Aliens coming on the TV and being on a lot of networks and shows, that was showed quite a bit, and it was definitely something that a lot of people watched. And they were promoting that type of program for quite a while, especially in 2012. 2012 was definitely a massive year for that. And I noticed a definite spike and an increase in mainstream media reporting on UFOs and aliens and stuff like that. And I just wanted to show you guys a couple clips from 2012 from the media that they were reporting on. And again, I believe that this was part of the agenda to kind of get people to believe that there's aliens, to bring about this new world order.
Fox Talk tonight, boy, wrap your head around this. UFO sightings are skyrocketing in 2012, and we're barely 2 weeks in. Eyewitnesses reporting strange things in 36 out of the 50 states, and yeah, Florida's included.
So you believe in these kind of things? Let's just say I want to believe.
When the media's reporting on stuff, always question it.
news that gives you goosebumps. Why does this fascinate us so? Well, it does. From Star Wars to Star Trek, The X-Files, even South Park, and the latest Indiana Jones, our culture is obsessed with the idea of aliens, and you could range from just a bit curious to being a fanatic, scouring the skies, hitting the blogosphere. Well, just for you, all this week, we're bringing a special series, In Search of Aliens. And for today, UFOs aren't just for Hollywood and science fiction novels, even though you may think that only conspiracy theorists and kooks believe. Both Congressman Dennis Kucinich, for example, as well as former President Jimmy Carter, say that they've seen something in the skies.
It's one of the better flying airplanes.
Milton Torres is not the kind of guy to tell a tall tale. 20 years in the Air Force, an engineer with a PhD, a professor. He's all about brass tacks and left brain thinking. So I was all ears when he started talking about his UFO encounter over England in May of 1957.
I got scrambled one night, and my first orders are, you will be ordered to fire on this mission.
In just a few minutes, he was over the North Sea in a fighter like this at 31,000 feet, traveling nearly the speed of sound. In the dark and in the clouds, Milton saw the strongest signal he had ever seen on his radar screen.
Bigger than shit, the target was there, and the target looked like an aircraft carrier. It was that big on my screen.
He flew toward it to try and shoot it down. And it takes off like you're just standing still.
Like I wasn't even there. Like I wasn't even there. Just gone.
Milton has no earthly explanation for what he saw. Could it have been a problem with the radar? Could it have been a weather phenomenon?
No.
Could it have been a meteor? Any of those things?
Everything was explained to me already.
Yeah?
I knew what it was. It was some design of an aircraft by some space alien.
Milton Torres says a U.S. intelligence agent ordered him to keep his mouth shut.
He must have been an alien.
The odd encounter is one of hundreds of once classified UFO sightings released last month by the British government. It's the sort of disclosure UFO investigators are demanding from the U.S. government. How would people react?
Well, it would be kind of good. It's about time.
Former astronaut Edgar Mitchell is the sixth man to walk on the moon and a firm believer that aliens have visited our planet repeatedly. So I had to ask, why are they coming in these little glancing visits and we haven't had a more meaningful dialogue or contact or attempt to communicate with these people?
I think we have.
Really?
I think we have, but it is not common knowledge.
Mitchell told me after he returned from the moon, he was briefed at the Pentagon by a high-ranking officer, whose name he would not reveal, who said the U.S. government does have evidence of alien spacecraft and is keeping it a secret.
Well, I think the reason it's still a secret is power and control, controlling whatever technology exists.
All of this is fascinating stuff, if it is true. But consider this. There are thousands of sightings of odd, unidentified flying objects reported every year the world over. And yet no one has produced smoking gun proof of any visits from another planet. So isn't it more likely they are some sort of natural phenomenon? Or maybe secret military aircraft? Or just plain old hoaxes? Before he became president, even Jimmy Carter saw something strange in the sky over Plains, Georgia.
I and about 25 others saw something in the air that changed colors and was round and came and left.
Carter doubts what he saw was an alien craft.
So that was just some of the media reports from 2012, early 2012. It seems like as soon as the year changed, it was just boom. It was a massive onslaught of media reporting on UFOs. And then you had the Disclosure Project, which came out just prior to that, I believe. And the Disclosure Project, I watched that, and I definitely had a lot of questions. We all know about the alien autopsy footage that was faked. There was obvious fake alien autopsy footage, which has been proven that it was faked. It was just put out there for propaganda. So who's to say that this new Disclosure Project movie doesn't also have the same kind of mentality for that? They're saying that they have these credible scientists and stuff doing tests on the alien that they found, that they apparently have. So I found that very questionable, and I thought that it was all part of a propaganda campaign, which is why you have members of the governments coming out and saying we want disclosure, we want to get this out there and stuff like that. Definitely very questionable. And I went to Roswell last year in 2012. It was April, I believe. Or was it May? I can't remember. It was just before the summer. Anyways, I went to Roswell, and it was pretty interesting. But I didn't really notice. There's a museum, I believe, there, and I didn't get to see it because we came into town around 4:30 or so. I was on tour at the time, and we decided to go to Roswell to check it out since it is an infamous city, and I was very curious about what was there. I've never been there before, and since we were near the area, I said, why not? You know what I mean? It makes sense. So we went there, and I got some photographs there and stuff like that. But Roswell, to me, seems like it's just a money-making scheme. To me, it seems like all Roswell is now, anyways. It seems like it's just a theme park, really. It's a way to generate money, because when I went through there, I noticed a lot of the stores and stuff like that were just selling souvenirs, T-shirts with Roswell on it and all that stuff. And that's pretty much how the community makes its money, and that's how it survives, is off the tourist attraction aspect of things. And I even got a book here, Aliens in America, and I read this book, and I went through it, and it shows you all the spots in the United States where there's alien activity, sightings, and all that stuff. And every time we went to one of these places, it was just a tourist attraction. It seemed like it was just a way to generate money off aliens and UFOs and all that stuff, souvenirs, gift shops, all that kind of stuff. And this book here is definitely This book here was by William Burns, publisher of UFO Magazine and host of UFO Hunters, who was also on Ancient Aliens quite a bit. So that's who put out this book. And on every page, at the end of the sightings, stuff like that, it's got a list of hotels to stay at and all the things like that. It's a pretty good book if you're a UFO hunter and you want to go find alien spots and stuff like that. But this definitely got me opening my eyes up a bit more to the tourist attraction and the money-making side of an aspect of the UFO agenda and stuff like that. So there is people making lots of money off UFOs, just the theory that there's aliens and all that stuff. And Roswell is no exception. And I just want to show you guys a clip from when I was there with a couple photographs and
stuff.
stuff.
A famous spot in UFO history, of course, Roswell, New Mexico. It's been 61 years since something happened there. Is it still a mystery, or is it case closed for Roswell? Miles is going to be back tomorrow with more.
And here's a picture of just getting into Roswell. It wasn't actually in Roswell. This was a gas station nearing it, and there's already alien souvenirs at the gas station. This was at a gas station, so there's already alien stuff before you even hit Roswell. And you see here's newspaper articles from the crash in Roswell. General Ramey, it discusses that, and this was at a gas station as well. This is outside of the store. And then you have the code that was sent out into space to try to get an answer back from any intelligent life forms. And it says the truth is here. So this was another one of those stops, and this was in Roswell, and this is one of the stores. There's lots of stores like this where you walk by and it's just pure Roswell merchandise, souvenirs, paintings of aliens, everything you could think of aliens. We did stay at a hotel while we were there, and this was actually in a display in front of the store, the crashed saucer. That's sort of like what the saucer looked like that I saw. It was a disc shaped with a top on it like that, like almost like a bell floating above the power lines. And this is inside one of the gift shops. They had aliens in prison cells. This one here is typing on a typewriter, essentially publishing news articles, kind of questionable. And here's me having a drink with an alien in the back of the souvenir shop. Not a real alien, of course. I'm more alien than that thing is, that's for sure. And yeah, so there's some pictures from when I was in Roswell. And I thought I'd show you guys that. For anybody who hasn't been there, it's definitely pretty cool. If you're into alien stuff and you want to go check it out, it's definitely pretty cool. A cool place to go. But again, it seems like it's just been turned into a massive tourist attraction, and there's not too much evidence there. You know, you're not going to find any evidence or any smoking gun evidence in Roswell or anything. That was one of the first propaganda campaigns put out by the U.S. government and the military. It was like almost experimental to say that they found alien bodies on board and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's very hard to explain, but it can be explained, I think. And I think it's really important to get William Cooper's input on this, because he's always influenced me for a lot of things I've done. But here I want to show you guys a call. Actually, this was what first got me really wondering like what's going on, but it seems to me like this is a call that was purposely done on purpose. Apparently the call is disconnected. I'm sure a lot of UFO researchers out there have heard this phone call. It's from Nevada, I believe, and on the Art Bell show, and a caller calls in saying he's an employee for Area 51, and it's a pretty frantic call. I think this was part of the PSYOP for sure.
Line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and...
Seems like Art knows what questions to ask here.
I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really, really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens, Art, they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, I'm sorry, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Georgia Guidestones.
Discharge.
Wiping the population out. They're surely doing that.
I started getting...
This is where the phone is cut. The call is cut. But it seemed like it was a legitimate call.
Something knocked us off the air, and we're on a backup system now.
It seems like if it was a legitimate call, though, it was for a reason. The guy was an Area 51 employee exposing what's going on, and there's definitely some interesting points that he said in the conversation. But it could have also been part of the PSYOP. Could have been him just trying to get people to believe that there's aliens out there and that they're covering it up and all that, just to get people looking into it more. So there was that video, and what I want to do now actually is get a William Cooper clip on, because William Cooper definitely influenced a lot of things that I research and stuff, and he was really right about a lot of things. Like I can't explain it how much he's influenced me. It's unbelievable. But here's a clip of him from an interview I found, a radio interview that he did, which he really pretty much lays it on the table exactly the way it is. And I think this is a very important interview. It's an excerpt from the interview, which I'm gonna show here, and then I'm gonna also show a clip of one of his broadcasts also after this video. So definitely worth checking out.
We're speaking here to Bill Cooper, and what would you classify yourself as, just in a couple words or less?
Well, I don't know what you mean by that.
Like, who are you? Like, if somebody said, I was listening to CITR and I heard Bill Cooper, he's,
I'm an average, ordinary person just like anybody else, not any smarter, not any dumber, who's really seriously concerned
about the future of our freedom.
Okay. Is it my understanding, from what I've understood from seeing your videotapes, is it true that the U.S. Army possesses spaceships and will eventually fake an alien invasion in which will unite the world under the leadership of Freemasons?
That's one of the scenarios.
So how did the U.S. Army, who seems to be bungling a lot of stuff, how did they get a hold of alien craft, and how long have we had contact with them?
Well, first place, it's not the U.S. Army. It's secret agencies within the United States government that are under control of the secret societies. These things are being flown at a super-secret test site called Groom Dry Lake or Area 51 in the state of Nevada. We have them on videotape, extensive footage both at night and daylight. They are what people normally call UFOs, flying saucers. Some of them are circular-shaped, that are owned and operated by humans. They're either remote-controlled or have human pilots. We're not exactly sure which, but they're not extraterrestrial at all. They're the results of a secret technology that were originally developed by the Germans during World War II, but not perfected to the state of being used as a weapons platform.
How did we get a hold of the technology? Like, did we meet aliens?
No, we took it from the Germans.
We took it from the Germans. Okay, how did the aliens, have anybody in the U.S. government ever met any aliens?
We don't know if there are any aliens at all.
Well, wasn't there, an alien craft that crashed that you refer back to? Were an alien craft ever crashed, landed?
We don't know. We know that the government has set up a scenario where there is evidence that seems to point that something crashed, which has been interpreted as an extraterrestrial craft with dead extraterrestrial bodies. But these could have been monkeys with their ears and tail cut off and surgical intervention done to their eyes, and who knows what it was.
Okay, how did the Germans get this technology then?
They developed it with their science.
So, so you're saying, well, just moving something a bit closer to home here,
Let me put it this way for you so that you'll understand it a little better. Governments cannot exist unless the people feel threatened. The primary job of a government is to give the people a modicum of safety. The United States government was formed by a union of the states for their mutual benefit and protection. Okay? Now, to have a one-world government and tear down all the national boundaries, you have to instill the people of the world with enough fear that they're willing to give up what they used to be loyal to and join with something that's new that they don't know what it's going to be. What better way to do that than if the Earth were attacked or invaded by some other species from some other planet, whether real or imagined?
Okay, what about abductions? If
you start looking into the actual research and development of brainwashing and mind control techniques by the United States, Great Britain, Canada, the Soviet Union, and others, and if you'll look at the mind control experiments and the actual lobotomies that were performed on people in hospitals in Canada, you'll see that this alien abduction thing is probably the most sophisticated and successful mind control operation ever conducted in the history of the world, and it's designed to make us believe that we're being threatened by some other species from some other planet so that they can have their one world government.
But didn't you say in one of your papers that there was an agreement that aliens were allowed to pluck people from Earth?
No. You see, this is what happens. People don't read what I write. What I said was, this is what I saw in documents when I was in naval intelligence.
So you're saying there are no UFOs out there?
No, that's not what I said. UFOs are real. I can prove that at least some of them are owned and operated by humans here on this Earth.
Okay, they're humans, but there's no alien ones.
We don't know.
So you don't know?
I don't know if aliens exist or not, but I will tell you this. In 1917, John Dewey said this in 1917. What better way to unite all humanity in a one-world government than if we were attacked by some other species from some other planet?
But wasn't E.T. based on a true story?
If what I saw in government documents when I was in naval intelligence is true, then yes. If not, it's just another part of the conditioning of our collective consciousness to accept the reality of something that doesn't exist.
And we've been on the moon since 1948 as well.
Yeah, what I'm trying to tell you is nobody really knows, but whatever the truth about UFOs is, it's being used to make us give up our freedoms and join in a one-world totalitarian socialist state, and that's what we better be careful of.
People want some proof. Where can they delve deeper besides from your stuff?
Right after World War II, A.V. Rowe built a veritable city in northwest Canada to work on top-secret aviation developments, one of which was the flying disc, which is called flying saucers or UFOs.
Which city?
Research A.V. Rowe. Find their secret test sites and...
And that's it there, folks. You can't really see it right there, but the craft that they were showing you right there, and this is from northwest Canada. I'm in eastern part of Canada, so it's still in Canada essentially. But the disc that I saw in 2009 when I was in Quebec City definitely resembled this craft that they're showing you in this video clip here during this William Cooper interview. And it definitely resembled it. I mean, it was a round shape with a top on it. So definitely I think that it was probably a very similar spacecraft, or not spacecraft, but a vehicle designed by humans, essentially.
You'll be able to film these things flying in Canada just like I can film them flying here.
I saw a documentary on it, and they said it was a failed craft. Well, I guess according to you, it wasn't failed.
That was to convince the public that we humans don't have the technology necessary to build one of those things, which was a disinformation program called Project Snowbird.
To tell you the truth, when I first heard about what you're doing, I thought you were saying, aliens crashed, we stole their craft, and we have the technology, and people are allowed to be plucked from the Earth. But as you've told me now, that's wrong, right?
My paper, the initial press release that I did was called Operation Majority, and it was a list of things that...
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious, too, that this guy interviewing William Cooper had an agenda to kind of ridicule him or poke fun at him, but little did this radio interviewer know how accurate William Cooper's information actually is.
I could remember seeing pertaining to UFOs in top-secret documents while I was in Naval Intelligence. The second document that I released was called The Secret Government, which, if what I had seen in those documents was true, and if what I'd been able to research was true, and that others had researched, and documents released under the FOIA were true, then it was, in fact, the history as close as anybody's ever been able to write the history of extraterrestrial visitation to this Earth. If not, it's what they want us to believe. And at the beginning of that, I had a hypothesis statement saying that this is a hypothesis based upon this, this, and this, which has been taken off. And at the end, I had 5 conclusions. Number 5 was the fact that this could be the greatest hoax in the history of the world, designed to create an alien threat that does not exist to bring about a one-world government.
Now, I don't want to regress, but did you attempt to contact Oliver Stone before he went into pre-production for the movie JFK?
That's correct. Attempted over and over again, hundreds of times, to contact him, not only myself, but intermediaries and other people. He absolutely refused to acknowledge our existence or even speak to us. And when you watch his film, you'll see that what he's doing is blaming everything on our government. What he's saying, in effect, is constitutional government doesn't work, and that's a lie, in order to get us to be dissatisfied so that we'll accept the New World Order when it comes.
So do you think that the name Oliver Stone is like a pseudonym, and that Stone has to do with the actual basic teachings of the Freemason religion, what you were talking about a couple nights ago?
Absolutely, and he must be a member because he shows in his film that he knows who really killed Kennedy, and in the way that he does it, he's actually laughing at the rest of us.
Yeah.
When Garrison and Prouty are sitting on the park bench in Washington, D.C., and they're talking about why, and he says, that's the question, isn't it? Why?
So
who had the power? Who had the opportunity? Who had this? Who had that? And then the camera moves back, and they become real tiny in the picture. In fact, you can barely see them, and there's one dominating scene. There's one dominating part of that picture, and that is the Washington Monument, which is the obelisk, the phallus, the lost word of Freemasonry, the light.
How about the Bermuda Triangle? Are you into that at all?
No. Listen, let me make one thing perfectly clear here. I'm not into mysterious things or witchcraft or disappearing ships or anything like that. My only purpose, and the only reason I even began to do any of this, is because I believe that sometime in the near future we're all in danger of losing the affluence that we worked hard for. We're in danger of losing our personal freedoms and becoming somebody's slave in the New World Order. And that's the only thing I care about. That's the only thing I'm fighting, and that's the only reason I'm doing any of this.
Okay, who are the bad guys? Who are the bad guys just right off the bat? The Masons?
Well, nobody's really a bad guy. You got to understand that these guys aren't doing this because they're evil or they think that they're bad. They're doing it because they actually believe that it's the best for all humanity. But their assumption is wrong. Anything that has to be manipulated, anything that has to be brought about by lies and deceit is inherently wrong in its premise to begin with.
Now, thanks, Mr. Cooper. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
And keep on rocking in a free world.
Thank you, and God bless you and your listeners.
Years ago, many years ago, in fact, in 1972, I was sitting at my desk at about 4:30 in the morning at the headquarters of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, arranging the information that had come in over the last 24 hours into a logical order so that we could prepare a briefing for the Admiral and his staff, which would take place later that morning. Among the papers I found on my desk was a document entitled Operation Majority, and it was not the entire paperwork involving this operation, but was merely a synopsis of the operation and projects contained under it. One of these projects was called Project Red Light. The purpose, according to this document, was to back-engineer captured extraterrestrial technology for adaptation into the United States space program. Now, I have since come to believe that the extraterrestrial portion of all of this is nonsense, but that the technology is real. I believe that many of us were shown these documents over the years so that later we would talk about it. I mean, how can you keep the existence of extraterrestrials, if they were real, a secret? And how could anyone keep quiet knowing that they had seen documentation, official government documents labeled top secret, that expressed that these extraterrestrials were real and had visited this Earth? I wanted to know just how true all of this was, and I began a program of research to find out if extraterrestrials were real. The first thing I did was collect every bit of documentation that I could find, both from the Freedom of Information Act, from the research of others, from books that had been printed on the subject of UFOs, and of course through my network of friends in the intelligence community. What I discovered was amazing. What I discovered, ladies and gentlemen, is that there has been a plan in existence since about 1917, and probably before that, to create an artificial extraterrestrial threat to this Earth in order to create a one-world totalitarian socialist government. One of the first documents that I found in my search was this one, the Imperial Japanese Mission 1917, a record of the reception throughout the United States of the special mission headed by Viscount Ishii. And when the Imperial Japanese Mission was in New York City, they had a dinner, and some pretty famous people spoke at this dinner. One of them was John Dewey. John Dewey is the father of our failing, disastrous public education system. Here's what he said. Listen very carefully. John Dewey, professor of philosophy in Columbia University, who was the next speaker, was listened to with great intentness. He said, quote, "Someone remarked that the best way to unite all the nations on this globe would be an attack from some other planet. In the face of such an alien enemy, people would respond with a sense of their unity of interest and purpose." Unquote. Now, bear in mind, folks, that's 1917. One of the next documents that I found, and I found quite a few, but one that's pretty important, is called a report from Iron Mountain, the probability and desirability of permanent peace. Now, I encourage you to find this book, wherever you can find it. I don't know where you can get it, but find it. Page 66. Credibility, in fact, lies at the heart of the problem of developing a political substitute for war. This is where the space race proposals, in many ways so well suited as economic substitutes for war, fall short. The most ambitious and unrealistic space project cannot of itself generate a believable external menace. It has been hotly argued that such a menace would offer the last best hope of peace, etc., by uniting mankind against the danger of destruction by creatures from other planets or from outer space. Experiments have been proposed to test the credibility of an out-of-our-world invasion threat. And it continues on another page. Nevertheless, an effective political substitute for war would require alternate enemies, some of which might seem equally far-fetched in the context of the current war system. It may be, for instance, that gross pollution of the environment can eventually replace the possibility of mass destruction by nuclear weapons as the principal substitute for war. Are you beginning to get the message, folks? Poisoning of the air and of the principal sources of food and water supply is already well advanced, and at first glance would seem promising in this respect. It constitutes a threat that can be dealt with only through social organization and political power. But from present indications, it will be a generation to a generation and a half before environmental pollution, however severe, will be sufficiently menacing on a global scale to offer a possible basis for a solution. However unlikely some of the possible alternate enemies we have mentioned may seem, we must emphasize that one must be found of credible quality and magnitude if a transition to peace is ever to come about without social disintegration. It is more probable, in our judgment, that such a threat will have to be invented rather than developed from unknown conditions. Ladies and gentlemen, they have created so many alternate enemies in order to bring about their one-world totalitarian socialist state that we don't know which enemy to believe is real or is false, or whether to just toss them all out on their ears. And I think that that is probably going to be the best solution. Disarmament is no accident. All of these bills in Congress to take away our weapons is no accident. The intentional environmental pollution of our lakes, rivers, streams, oceans, forests, everything is no accident, as you just heard. These things were planned many, many years ago. All the bombardment of the public with movies about flying saucers in the 50s, right after the United Nations Treaty was signed and the UN Participation Act was pushed through Congress, and all of the incidents since that have convinced the majority of the American people that flying saucers are real and extraterrestrials exist, and that flying saucers are from an extraterrestrial origin. This is being promulgated in many ways, by television commercials, in the movies, in the newspapers, by creating incidents either real or imagined. I believe, because of my research, and because of the extensive documentation that I've found and that is in my book, that this whole scenario has been created to give us an artificial alien threat from outer space. During the Reagan administration, he made 6 speeches, specifically talked about a threat from outer space by some other species from some other planet. 6, ladies and gentlemen. Why would the president repeat the same thing 6 times, tagged on to the ends of speeches by him? The speechwriters did not put that in the speech. Ronald Reagan added it himself.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This was a powerful suggestion to implant into the minds of the people of the world that there really is a threat from some other species, from some other planet to this Earth. Now, you people out there have been ignoring the UFO phenomenon for too long. It has all the earmarks of the most successful, most sophisticated mind control operation in the history of the world, and you are ignoring it. What better way to implement a plan to bring about a one-world government than to create the possibility in the minds of the people of the world that we are being threatened from some other species, from some other planet, and do it in a way that if anybody questions it or challenged it or wants to talk about it publicly, that they are ridiculed.
And the ultimate goal is to make the Earth look very small
to present the people of the world with an external threat to this earth, a superior race from some other planet, vastly superior to us in intellect, philosophy, and technology, in order to cause the dissolution of nation states, the dissolution of all existing religions, and the formation of the world totalitarian socialist government.
So there we have it, folks. In his own words, William Cooper. Those were really good broadcasts. Definitely took some digging to find those, but they're definitely right on point. I think he definitely nailed it. He brought forth documentation. I mean, I was going to mention report to from Iron Mountain, as well as the 1917 conference, and of course the H.G. Wells radio broadcast. That's another important thing to point out here is that H.G. Wells did a reading of War of the Worlds on the radio and got everyone in a panic thinking that there was an alien invasion happening. And to me, that was definitely a test for the PSYOP to see if it could actually be achieved, that if it would make people panic and see what kind of reaction it would get out of the public. Now, obviously, later it was described as that it was just a reading of the story, but it was presented in such a way that it seemed real to the listener that was listening to the radio broadcast. So that was definitely a false flag alien invasion test, I guess you could say, that from a long time ago. And then you have Reagan pretty much spewing forth the exact same stuff that was discussed at the 1917 conference when Reagan wasn't even involved in politics. So all these things pointing to the direction that, okay, there's something going on here, especially in regards to that. And it was definitely making me wonder why all of a sudden they're talking about aliens on the mainstream media, on the news channels. You've got Ancient Aliens, the show, where it's pretty much revealing a lot of these secrets, especially Freemason secrets, are right in that program. But it's all in the way that you understand it. I mean, if you're understanding that aliens came here, okay, well then you're obviously going to find a lot of interest in Ancient Aliens. But also, if you're watching that program, which I call it a program on purpose because it's programming the viewer, but when you're watching that program, if you understand that we could have been the ones that came here a long time ago, which is why there's certain bloodlines that are kept so sacred, because they're the oldest on the earth. They're listed in kings lists throughout history, as well as the Anunnaki are described as being from another planet or coming down here. The blood of Kingu, which is discussed in the Necronomicon, and obviously Babylonian practice and tradition. So you've got all this stuff that's kind of pointing to something is being hidden, obviously, from the public. And in my opinion, I think some of these bloodlines that do dominate the world and have the right to king, or whatever they call that, where the bloodline it gives you power to become a monarch or royalty or a king or a queen, goes back for a long time, and they've definitely kept track of their bloodline throughout history. And you never know. This could be what the Masons are hiding. This could be what the Freemasons are hiding. The secrets of our history, of how we came to this planet, and how the whole alien thing is full of half-truths and deceptions and stuff like that, and that the megaliths were built by people, by us, just our ancient ancestors who knew all of this information but kept it secret and only gave it to the adepts or the people that would pursue an interest in this and rise up in the Masonic degrees. There's all sorts of things that obviously need to be answered in regards to this, but definitely makes you wonder. And with what's going on in the world today, with the global warming, as they say, the environmental disasters, the BP oil spill, you've got chemtrails, all the contaminants and the fallout from the sky, the poisoning of the foods, the GMOs, the fluoridation of the water. All this stuff is happening. They're purposely destroying our planet. Why would they be doing that? That's the question I was always asking myself, is why would they be destroying the planet and killing everybody on it? What's going on here? And then you discover that they were building bunkers, like what's under the Denver airport and all this. And then you got the pale horse at the Denver airport as well. And the murals. and the swastika built in the building layouts and stuff. But then you have an entire city underground, and then you look at a city like mine in Sudbury, or the one next to this city, North Bay. They have an entire underground military base there. So these cities are connected by underground highways. Why would they have bunkers underground? And who would have access to these bunkers? Well, it's obviously military and politicians. Now, another thing is, why would they be destroying the Earth unless they had another place to go to survive? Now, that brings me back to the original topic of discussion today, is the New World Order Alien Agenda, and how I believe that we came here a long time ago. So what I think is going on is the beginning of the end, essentially. They're destroying the planet because they've already harvested all the minerals they can from this planet. People are waking up. People are too smart. We're knowing what's going on now, and we're calling these people for the globalist controlling people that they are, and they're the ones who are responsible for destroying the planet and the people on it. So we're holding them accountable. They're ready to, pretty much destroy this world and just ditch out, because they probably have a space station they could go to, or they've already discovered planets. There's a base on the dark side of the moon. We can't see that. Pink Floyd named their album that for a reason. So there's a lot of secrets being hidden here from the public, which need to be addressed. And these are a lot of the questions that I've had racing through my head, and I've been trying to answer myself lately. I had one person actually from Sudbury here who watched who was following me on the March of Freedom, and they've watched my films, and we've spoken through emails. She's a really wonderful lady, and she told me she's really into a lot of the stuff that I research and a lot of the information I'm putting out, but she said she doesn't think the world is ready for my whole alien theory, and even my wife thinks the same thing. I mean, I've had friends tell me, oh, that's pretty deep, you know what I mean? I don't know if the world's ready for that, but I think that the only way that you can really get to the bottom of something is just putting it out there and going full tilt, and that's what I try to do here on Unveiling the Truth, and you just go full tilt and try to get some answers for the many questions that I have, and others as well. So I want to thank everybody for watching Unveiling the Truth here. We're going to wrap up the broadcast today. I think it went pretty well. Sorry if it seemed a little bit disorganized and scattered around. I tried to accumulate as much information as I can and present it in a good, orderly fashion, but sometimes I tend to explain things a bit further, or this is the 6th broadcast, so definitely I'm still learning as I go. But next week we have an awesome guest, Harry Link from the Truth Broadcast Network, a hardcore activist. He's definitely educated on a lot of things. He runs the show Death to the New World Order. He'll be our guest for next Saturday, so I'm looking very forward to having Harry Link on the show, and catch his show next on the Truth Broadcast Network, Death to the New World Order. And apparently, since I'm starting to get more broadcasts now, they're going to be replaying some of the episodes on Sunday nights at 10 till midnight. So anybody who missed out tonight, you could probably watch this episode tomorrow from Sunday from 10 till midnight. So the more broadcasts I put out, the more days of the week I think that I'll be getting, and I might even do a couple special broadcasts this week or next week, actually, where I'm that aren't on the schedule. Essentially, I'm just going to do a 2-hour show, just a special broadcast here and there about certain topics, just to have more material and more episodes, so that people can watch the episodes and catch up to date. So I want to thank everybody who stuck around and who watched the show, and definitely get in touch, info@unveilingthetruth.com if anybody has any questions or comments or anything like that. I'm always wanting to hear from everybody, and watch the documentaries I put out. Tune into the Truth Broadcast Networks for the other great shows that are on the network. Death to the New World Order, Hammering Down the New World Order, Cancel the Cabal, and of course the Rundown Live. So this is Mark Howitt signing out, and thanks for tuning in and watching, and hopefully I didn't freak anybody out, or hopefully you guys don't think I'm a completely insane person anymore because of some of the theories that I presented in this presentation. But I think they're pretty important issues, and definitely need to be looked at further. So thanks for watching. Right on.
Somewhere I read of the freedom of assembly. Somewhere I read of the freedom of speech. Somewhere I read of the freedom of press. Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
Shock harmony, the beat, the mind. A criminal element in the shadow.
government exploiting resources, United Nations, the global establishment, environmental, medical, dental, governmental, detrimental system dictating if the price is right, the price is your life. Choose to die or choose what's right. The government doesn't care, so it's up to you to bring the fight. Turn up the stereo and let the flow hit your brain. Absorb the consciousness flowing freely through your veins. It don't matter if you're left or right, cause it's a setup point which truly determines your life. We're living in a backwards world. Nothing goes forward, no explorers, only profiteers and their enforcers.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
Who killed JFK? It's like you don't know. Who killed Martin Luther King? It's like you don't know. Who killed Malcolm X and RFK? It's like you don't know. Princess Di and Bill Cooper? It's like you don't know. Who did 9/11? Call from talking, this you should know. Who did Sandy Hook and Boston bombing? That you should know. Ruby Rich and Waco, Texas? This you should know. Edward Snowden, Bradley Manning? That you should know. Who killed Lee Harvey Oswald? It's like you don't know. Who killed John Lennon, Michael Jackson? It's like you don't know. Alexander the Venico? It's like you don't know. Michael Hastings and Caesar and Rome? It's like you don't know. Who did Oklahoma City bombing? This you should know. Who did Northwoods and kill Chavez and Che? That you should know. Who runs the CIA and KGB? This you should know. Who rules the world and is a threat to me? That you should know. Identify who your real enemies are, cause history is scarred with open wounds been ripped apart. How many more documents are they gonna seal before the puppet rises up in a general mass appeal? It's like you don't know how far the rabbit hole goes, cause you spent your life thinking about yourself and your little zone. Exit matrix with no fear, let's face this, embrace this, life's tasteless, it's time for some changes. Who killed JFK? It's like you don't know. Who killed Martin Luther King? It's like you don't know. Who killed Malcolm X and RFK? It's like you don't know. Princess Di and Bill Cooper? It's like you don't know. Who did 9/11? Call from talking, this you should know. Who did Sandy Hook and Boston bombing? That you should know. Ruby Rich and Waco, Texas? This you should know. Edward Snowden, Bradley Manning? That you should know. Who killed Lee Harvey Oswald? It's like you don't know. Who killed John Lennon, Michael Jackson? It's like you don't know. Alexander the Venico? It's like you don't know. Michael Hastings and Caesar and Rome? It's like you don't know. Who did Oklahoma City bombing? This you should know. Who did Northwoods and kill Chavez and Che? That you should know. Who runs the CIA and KGB? This you should know. Who rules the world and is a threat to me? That you should know.